world as new data shows a surge in talent and startups. But big questions remain on whether the country can build global tech products here. We speak to an expert who will be joining us on what her AI moment really meant for the industry that she's contributing to, and whether or not India can really pick on certain examples from her own story. Finally, on the Breakfast Club, we will take you through all the updates from South India. Kerala government's decision to extend bar operating hours has triggered a major political and institutional controversy. We'll talk about the criticism coming in this morning in the next 20-30 minutes. But first, let's talk about what the AI India Summit is set to witness today. The Prime Minister will be at the venue and he's going to be hosting several world leaders who will officially inaugurate the Bharat AI Summit. It will be a closed-door event, not open to general public, but a lot of important conversations slated to take place at the venue the next few hours. But in the meanwhile, we need to touch upon our story. Where is India at in the global AI race? India's AI conversation is getting sharper. In fact, not too long ago, we heard from the Prime Minister on what we must do urgently to really leapfrog in the AI race. The government is pushing tech firms to move beyond traditional services and start building products, even as fresh data shows India climbing the global AI rankings with strong talent depth and a growing startup base. But the gap in comparison to, let's say, US and China is still very wide, especially when it comes to funding and core technology. So is India ready to turn skills into real global platforms, or does the ecosystem still have structural hurdles to cross? Let's quickly go over to our guest joining us this morning, Priyansha Bagaria, founder and CEO of Looper AI. She'll be breaking down what the shift means for the industry. Hi, good morning. Thank you for being with us, Priyansha. We'll talk about your story in just a bit, but the big highlight of what we heard from the Prime Minister the last few hours has also been how India must become a creator, not just a consumer of foundational AI. So let's start with that. From where you sit as an AI founder, is India thinking big enough?
Yeah, so it's a very, very interesting topic. And I think the transformation that we are seeing in the AI race in the country is phenomenal. And thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister for really, putting India in the world map across the AI journey and AI technology. So I feel the couple of things that would be really, really relevant for us to move from services to really the solution, right? Which the Prime Minister spoke about, that we really need to focus on and think about it. First is we're seeing a lot of GCC, Global Capability Centers, that's coming to the country. A lot of big organizations across the world are setting up their Global Capability Center. Now, these centers doesn't just need to be a support system. It has to become an R&D center where, the engineers, the data scientists, all the people, they have to build on real products where they have to own the IP. It just cannot be another offshore engineering center, which is just supporting the building of the technology. That's number one, which I feel is very important. Number two is we must control the full technology stack. It has to be from chips to network to cloud. Yeah. And that's, I think, a big focus right now on a huge investment around data infrastructure, right? Creating these data centers. And we know the impact of how important these data centers is going to be for the economy, for the growth of employment within the company, within the country. It is
so Priyansha, I'll ask you where we're at in that journey of establishing data centers, because that's really the heart of the India AI story and will be the core of where we're going to be in the next 10 years. But let's talk about your AI journey and what that takeaway can be for all our viewers tuned in, really wanting to understand where are we headed. Your AI journey began on a factory floor, if I'm not wrong, where quality inspection failures in your family's manufacturing business prompted you to develop AI. Do you think India's real-world problems can actually become its biggest AI advantage?
Yes, completely. I come from a small town called Giridih in Jharkhand, and I was the fourth generation entrepreneur. My great-grandfather started this company in 1960s. I'm very proud to say that, and the company still, we've grown tenfold from where we started. And correctly said, I was working for my dad, and I saw the problem of quality firsthand in the factory floor. And at that point of time, there was no infrastructure around to really support or to find a solution that can really, solve this problem. Or you have to pay like a lot of money, and it was not the value was not. It didn't make sense. And I never ever thought, right, that a small problem from a small town that I have noticed can really give me the opportunity to start a company in this in the world of AI. And from there now, I didn't just go back and solve the problem of automating quality for my dad's company, but our solution is used by some of the largest OEMs in the world, from Boeing, from Toyota, from Daimler. So
Wow.
a girl from a small town who could just, see a problem in her day-to-day work, in her real life, can actually build a company around it, and not just serve, her can go back and solve the problem for her own company, but can help the biggest companies in the world. And that's like the power that
Yeah.
I feel we have today, the creativity, the idea, because the idea it can be even a small thing which you see in your day-to-day life. It doesn't need to be, everybody doesn't need to be the nuclear scientist, right? We are like, not every problem cannot be that big. It has to be about identifying those small
And
problems.
that's why so much importance, don't you think, has been given to startups in our country and how they're contributing to this one domain and where it'll take us in the next 5 years too. Priyansha, what I want to understand is, because you've picked on one small model and you've kind of tried to ace that, it's being replicated, you've given us, some of your largest clients. But does India, and if we zoom out a little, does India need to build one large general AI model or thousands of domain-specific foundational models across different sectors like manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture? We're seeing these domain-specific models now come up. But is that going to really get us to the point wherein we're called an AI superpower? Or we need, a broader AI model which takes care of everything?
I think what we have to really focus on is India should build its own AI brain. And if we are just going to use the foreign models, that's like really built on, if I'll give you an example, when I build a model for a customer, and I cannot use just an off-the-shelf GPT model that's going to solve all the manufacturing problems. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So the best way is to, if the best way is to really scale around this is that across agriculture, right? Like when you build a model, it has to be based on the context around the industry. It just cannot be a generic model that can solve all the problems. So I feel
So would you say the likes of Sarvam AI or AI for Bharat, that are building generative AI for Indian languages, is a case in point? That's what should be replicated pan sectors. So India building its own digital brains by picking on some of these advantages it has in different sectors. You think that's how we should be taking it forward?
I completely believe on that, because I feel like the power, because what works for us, like what is really the context is the biggest thing. When you talk about any AI, if you don't define, right, like what the surrounding is,
Yeah.
what you're looking for, if you don't define it well, the system is not going to work. And I think we have so much of data that we have been generating for years, and we have not been utilizing it. So if we really try to emphasize and focus on a specific industry and try to bring a change in that itself will be huge. Like just building products for specific industry rather than going about generic thing. And I feel with this whole AI infrastructure play, the best thing is when we have this whole compute play, right? When we go all out with our data centers GPU play. Now it doesn't matter if a company in Bangalore is trying to build something versus a company in Coimbatore. This would give an equal opportunity for everybody, no matter where you are. Even when you are in Girirdi, you still have access to these highly specialized compute infrastructure to build any kind of AI models, to build any kind of company you want. You just need a really good idea, and you need to understand, the industry well, and then you can do anything, right? I think
the one thing we keep hearing is now we're looking at the numbers, an uptick in the numbers. We're seeing us embrace technology in a way that we're taking that story forward. We're realizing that, okay, AI must be taking a lot of jobs away, but we need to turn it around to our advantage. But there are still resources that Indian startups don't have access to. Let's say like startups in the Silicon Valley or China, for instance, have access to. So where do you think is that missing piece? India has scale, data, talent, but what's the single biggest missing piece preventing India from becoming an AI superpower in today's day and age?
So I feel there's been a lot of money that is flowing in India, startup ecosystem. I wouldn't say that, like that the money is not there. Money is there, but again, a lot of startups out there today, it's not just about coming up with an idea and then just starting a company. You really need to spend time to build on it, to really prove that it is a scalable idea. It's an idea that can really work, right? Like so, and that's something that I think even when I started the company, I didn't go out and raise money day one. I basically bootstrapped it for a year. I worked on my idea. I closed 2 customers, and that's when I got my first money because I validated my idea. Like it's just, I feel there has to be an effort that needs to be done upfront around having like a viable MVP. We call it minimum viable product. You need to build that. You need to get it tested. And then after that, I mean, if there is attraction, I don't see really why you won't be able to raise money. I mean, I have done that when I really didn't know anybody in the industry. But if you really believe in your idea, if you have a really, really good product, you will find right people to come and support you in your journey.
And the Prime Minister remarked that the tech sector in the country must be the one spearheading this one AI challenge which has been thrown at the world and kind of turn it into an advantage. But thank you so much, Priyanshu, for joining us this morning, telling us all about your story and really taking us through what you think India needs to do right the next few years. Speaking of the India AI Summit 2026, it is the first global AI summit being hosted in the global south. And since it is anchored in 3 pillars, namely people, planet and progress, we decided to deviate a little bit, catch up with former Niti Aayog CEO and also the man who led the climate finance reform through the Green Development Pact in G20 New Delhi Summit in 2023. Mr. Amitabh Kant joined us to give us a lowdown on India's climate action story and the pressing issues that India must use to its advantage. Here's that conversation. We've heard so much around climate commitments, very little when it comes to implementation. Where do you think India is at in terms of intent and implementation in the climate story?
Well, India is the only country which has overachieved in terms of its commitment at COP21 in Paris, is the only country amongst the G20 which has achieved its targets. Having said that, I really feel that we should accelerate the pace of our renewables on 500 gigawatt, which is meant to be by 2030. We need to do it by 2028, in fact actually cross 500 by pushing many more 24/7 tenders out, because not that you need renewable energy, you'll get renewable energy, but you need renewable energy 24/7 round the clock.
Yeah.
And it can't be that you get renewable energy at 1 rupee in the morning at 10 a.m. and get it at 10 rupee in the night at 10 p.m. when no renewable energy is available. So you need battery storage. And the challenge for India is now to bring huge, massive storage capacity in India.
Yeah.
And secondly, push for pump hydro storage in India. India is a large country. If you are able to do pump hydro storages in India, you'll be able to do them at a much lower cost, with a much longer lifeline over a longer period of time.
So where's the bottleneck here? Is it tech, financing, political will to get to that point?
Several challenges. One is in terms of your ability on processing side. The critical mineral processing technology for battery storage is held by only China today.
Yeah.
So you need to become a champion of processing technology. And processing technology, what China does is it weaponizes technology. It sells raw materials at very, very high cost, but it sells the end product very cheap. So every country then becomes imprisoned to importing the end product rather than building the processing technology. But building up processing technology is really the key to success of India.
Okay, you spoke a little bit about G20 climate negotiations, very complex. You've spoken about it at length in how India scaled Mount G20. If you could just take us through maybe one of these tough moments, conversations behind closed doors?
Oh, they were very tough. So the two toughest parts was the one, negotiations on climate, because there were several countries which were very clear that they don't want to be, they don't want to agree to some of the climate commitments which are being proposed. And the second was Russia-Ukraine war. So, you know, the final round on Russia-Ukraine took us almost 16 drafts failed. It took us about 365 hours of negotiation. We had to ensure that no mobiles were allowed. We did non-stop negotiations. We did it about 70 kilometers away from Delhi, locked up everyone, didn't allow any media like people like you to get in. Literally told them that if you don't succeed on the last day, we'd, you know, it was a nightmare. It went into the last minute, but at the last minute we had to finally tell them that if you don't agree to the final proposed para, India would rather walk out of G20 and work with other bodies like BRIC, etc., rather than work with G20 where consensus cannot be arrived at on very important issues concerning the world, and we got the final consensus from everyone.
We'll get back to climate again, and I want to understand from you what your thoughts are on electric mobility, because you've spoken so seriously about it and the contribution it can make to India's story. Do you think we're in any way nearing a EV tipping point, or we're far, far away from it?
No, so we need to accelerate it in a much bigger manner. Every city must be equipped with chargers. We have very few charging stations. We need to push it further. We need to lay down mandates, say that 2030, all two-wheelers, three-wheelers must go electric, because India runs largely on two-wheelers and three-wheelers. 75% of mobility is two-wheelers, three-wheelers. By 2030, all of them should go electric. We should stop allowing cars which are on fossil fuel. We should mandate that they should all go electric. I'm a big believer that actually buses are very important, and all procurement of buses must be pooled to bring down the prices, which will help you push Make in India in electric buses. So the government is procuring 10,000 buses for different cities. The next procurement should be 30,000 buses. After that, we should do 100,000 electric buses. All cities must run on electric buses. That's fundamental to the belief that India must make its cities clean, tidy, and must be very sustainable cities for its citizens, very important. And therefore, electric mobility is at the heart of the issue.
At the heart. Oh, great. Because one, it will address the pollution issue. The other is parallel conversations around, let's say, congestion tax.
And absolutely. And we should up our cafe norms. Our cafe norms must be tightened to move away from fossil into electric. We should use this opportunity to technologically leapfrog. If we don't do this, it will be a missed opportunity. Much like we did with mobile telephony, where we leapfrog, much like we've done with digital public infrastructure, this is an opportunity for India to leapfrog into electric vehicles. And Tatas and Mahindras have started making really outstanding electric vehicles now.
So which climate shift excites you the most? Is it EVs? Is it hydrogen? My guess is hydrogen. Is it renewables? Or is it just simple behavioral change? Because now you and I are talking about this, right?
Yeah.
We're having more conversations around climate.
I think all these are on the supply side. Electric vehicles or hydrogen, they're on the supply side. You need to make radical disruption on the supply side. But on the demand side also, it's very critical, you know, that the behavioral change pattern. A lot of this climate change, your cities are dirty, full of filth, garbage piling up, is because of community. I mean, we are generating a lot of garbage and filth. We don't even keep our houses clean. We don't even keep our cities clean.
Waste segregation is not a priority.
The communities, individuals are talking about it, they're seeing filth, but they're not segregating waste. So we need to bring what the Prime Minister said, the life mission, lifestyle for, you know, environment. That means every single individual must be concerned about his behavior. So behavioral change is really the key to a lot of this climatic concerns of tomorrow. We address some of these issues in the book, that behavioral change of individuals is very critical, and Indian cities actually must be radically transformed with better governance. But better governance, at the heart of it, is good community behavior.
Yeah, and all of this needs to translate to change on ground in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. It can't be limited to urban pockets.
Forget tier 2, tier 3 cities. I mean, I went to Kerala, which used to be one of the cleanest places, but I went into panchayats in the backwaters of Kerala. There are a lot of garbage and plastic is piled up. Now, to my mind, I'm absolutely clear that this movement has to start from villages and panchayats and move upwards. But cities are really the key. Urban citizens are the worst in India. They consume plastics, they leave plastic, litter it all over, and therefore I think the behavioral change of citizens of India is really critical.
Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little as we try and wind up the conversation. I want to understand from you how you see India positioned in the next decade in terms of geopolitics, in terms of global supply chain, in terms of global headwind. There's so much going on. India's also signing more and more trade deals. How do you see the next decade for us?
So first and foremost, there's a massive turbulence. There's a huge disruption taking place in terms of international politics, in terms of breakdown of global supply chain, but at the same time, you're seeing the biggest rise of productivity in the world. This era before us is going to see a huge transformation simply because of the use of data, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And make no mistake, this is the biggest opportunity for India. When such turbulence happens, countries rise or they decay. This is a massive opportunity for India, and that's why I think this AI mission, quantum computing mission, this move towards semiconductor, green hydrogen, all this is a huge opportunity to leapfrog into the future. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for India, and India must seize this moment.
So I'm just going to ask you this. You think India can become stronger than the storm?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. I'm a great optimist in India. I think this is India's decade, and this is going to be India's century. This is the biggest moment for India. We really have to seize this decade. No other country has achieved what we've achieved in terms of digital public infrastructure. We must ensure that DPI for AI is the future. We must be able to democratize the AI technology for our citizens. We must be able to provide them computing power. We must be able to build up skills. We must be able to open up data resources for them. This is a massive opportunity for India.
A lot of to-dos, but we've come a long way as well.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for really decoding that entire story, Mr. Kant. Thank you.
Great pleasure. Lovely speaking to you.
Okay, shifting our focus now to other stories we're tracking from across the country and around the world. First, from Udupi, the police have arrested a 22-year-old man from West Bengal in connection with a spying case involving Indian Navy ships under construction at the Udupi-Kochi shipyard. The accused, Alif Islam, was apprehended in Munnar, located in the Idukki district of Kerala. Authorities are investigating the details of the case and the individual's involvement in the alleged espionage activities. A video from Delhi's Dwarka area has gone viral, showing chaos after a taxi allegedly driven under the influence of alcohol rammed into another car. The incident took place on the 17th of Feb under the jurisdiction of Delhi police. The driver, Pushpendra Meena, was driving the taxi when he hit a Hyundai i20. Fortunately, no injuries were reported to anyone. A case was filed under Section 281 of BNS and Section 185 of Motor Vehicles Act. The accused was arrested and later released on bail. Over to Jaipur, where light rains caused water to accumulate in the waiting area of the operation theatre at SMS Trauma Hospital. As you see in these visuals on your screens as well, this led to stagnation in several parts of the hospital. As a result, many scheduled operations had to be postponed, and some patients were advised to visit the Dhanvantari Bhavan the following day. The issue was raised in the assembly by MLA Rafiq Khan through points of information, urging authorities to resolve the problem of rainwater flooding at the hospital. Paris prosecutors on Wednesday opened 2 new investigations into potential sex abuse crimes and financial wrongdoings linked to Jeffrey Epstein. One investigation will focus on sex abuse crimes, the other will focus on financial wrongdoing, each involving specialized magistrates. Paris prosecutor Laurence Becker called on victims who may have never spoken up before to file formal complaints or make witness accounts to feed French and foreign investigations. Global star Priyanka Chopra Jonas attended the world premiere of her upcoming film The Bluff on the 18th. The film also stars Carl Urban. She was accompanied by her husband, singer-actor Nick Jonas. Priyanka also turned heads on the red carpet in a striking metallic corset blouse paired with a brown asymmetric skirt, serving effortless glamour, as you see in these visuals as well. And during the event, she also opened up about her upcoming Indian film Varanasi. The actress praised filmmaker Rajamouli and expressed her excitement about collaborating with him, calling the project truly special. Pop icon Miley Cyrus is set to return to her Disney roots as Hannah Montana celebrates its 20th anniversary. The special will premiere on Disney Plus on the 24th March and will be recorded in front of a live studio audience. The event will feature a candid interview moderated by Alex Cooper. Miley is expected to revisit iconic moments from the show, including unseen footage and recreated sets. Reflecting on the milestone, she shared that Hannah Montana will always remain a cherished part of her life. And while the Jeffrey Epstein case is back in focus, this time the warning is coming from UN rights experts. They say some of the acts described in the newly released files could cross into the territory of crimes against humanity, a legal threshold that pushes the story far beyond one man or one country. We get you more details in this report. Take a look.
A group of United Nations rights experts are raising the stakes in the Jeffrey Epstein case. They say the alleged acts described in the newly released Epstein files could qualify as some of the gravest crimes under international law. Their message conveys that accountability cannot stop at headlines, resignations, or one dead man. These are independent experts appointed under mandates of the UN Human Rights Council. They are not UN staff. They work in their personal capacity, but their language matters because they are calling for investigations and prosecutions across any national or international court that has jurisdiction. The experts say the conduct described in the files could amount to crimes like sexual slavery, reproductive violence, enforced disappearance, torture, and other inhuman and degrading treatment. They also mention femicide. Their argument is that this is alleged abuse on a scale and pattern that may cross into international crime. Under international criminal law, crimes against humanity involve acts like rape, sexual slavery, enforced prostitution, trafficking, persecution, torture or murder, committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack on civilians with knowledge of that attack. The experts say the patterns reported in these files may meet that threshold, and if that is true, they say it must be prosecuted. This fresh UN response is tied to a disclosure process under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law on November 19, 2025. After delays, the US Department of Justice released a major tranche on January 30, 2026. The release includes more than 3 million pages, around 2,000 videos, and about 180,000 images. Critics say even that may not be the full picture. Some reports claim the government could have more than 6 million files total, raising questions about what is still missing. The UN experts say the revelations point to what looks like a transnational operation, even using the phrase global criminal enterprise. The documents also describe how Epstein moved among prominent figures in politics, business, academia, science, and culture. Important point: being named in the files does not automatically mean wrongdoing. Names can appear in emails, contacts, calendars, flight manifests, or third-party references. But the UN panel argues the wider network, structures, and possible cross-border dimensions still demand scrutiny. Former US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has accused the Trump administration of slow-walking and stonewalling the document process, calling it a continuing cover-up. She says the administration is diverting attention and treating witnesses unevenly. The Justice Department has defended its handling and says it is committed to transparency. Newly released documents reportedly contain multiple references to Bill Clinton. He has denied wrongdoing related to Epstein. The Clintons are expected to appear for closed-door depositions in a House probe later in February after a long standoff over conditions. Hillary Clinton says she prefers public hearings and says anyone asked to testify should do so. Donald Trump is also mentioned repeatedly in the documents and has said he has been exonerated. The UN experts are saying none of that can replace criminal accountability. The UN experts praise survivors for pursuing accountability at personal cost, and they remind governments of their duty to prevent, investigate, and punish violence against women and girls, including by private actors. They also say resignations of implicated individuals are not a substitute for criminal accountability. They welcome probes into current and former officials and private individuals and call on other states to do the same.
Well, with that, it's time for us to head into a very quick break. On the other side, we shift our focus to stories from down south. First up, we'll talk about the latest order that's coming from the Kerala government. They've extended elections in the state later this year. We'll talk about that and much more in just a bit.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I think what India brings to it, and what this particular summit brings to it, is the approach of AI for everyone, inclusion, democratization, not necessarily hunting for the most exclusive of applications, but for applications that are there for as much as possible in our societies. And that's a contribution that I think India can make.
And when we talk about your arrival, it's hot on the heels of the historic FTA between India and the European Union. How can EU and India join hands as far as AI is concerned in terms of democratization, because that happens to be a top priority for India through this summit. You're also looking at a time when the market is heavily dominated by big tech players like Google, Meta, Microsoft. Do you think that there is space for inclusivity, the role that OpenAI can play both with Europe and India?
Oh, I mean, definitely there is, and I think the EU-India agreement is of great significance, well beyond the details of it. I think it's a breakthrough in a strategic relationship that affects a lot of different things. Then what's going to be decisive if you look ahead is really how we apply AI across society. I mean, it's not a race for the one or the other exclusive product or top performance, but a race to apply AI in different forms throughout society. And that is the way we see it in Sweden, that's the way we see it in a lot of Europe, and that's the way I understand that India sees it as well. So there we have a complementarity and a possibility of working together.
Sir, I did a bit of a research before doing this interview, and what I could understand about your opinion on AI is that AI should assist humans, not replace human editorial communities. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this? Because I've read you talking about this in many of your interviews and media engagements in the past.
Yeah, so, this AI large language model breakthrough is an amazing breakthrough, and it can produce lots and lots of text, perfectly grammatical and in many, many languages. but it's not very good with facts. And the problem of hallucinations is still enormous. And, while we see some use cases for this, and obviously many people are exploring this, we're very much about human in the loop. We're about humans vetting knowledge, debating, discussing, trying to get every word exactly right. So we see some change coming, but we're still very grounded in human knowledge.
Okay. Jimmy, also this summit is taking place for the first time in Global South, and going by the trends, then in last one decade, we have seen that mostly, few countries from Global North and few companies from the developed world dominate this entire ecosystem. Now, do you think that by organizing this summit, India is positioning itself as a bridge between Global North and Global South, perhaps to bring everyone under one roof, and also, asking for democratization of this technology, also to change the narrative that Global North, developed world, should not only look at Global South as a consumer, but they can also be the participant.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things I watch very closely is the developments in open source software and open source AI. People are using models that are designed to be run on a much smaller set of hardware, which means that individual developers can now run quite a good AI on their laptop, maybe not quite as good as the best ones at this moment, but maybe 6 months behind. That has a lot of implications for the developing world, for the middle tier countries like India, which has had a very strong IT sector for quite a long time, a lot of talented developers who don't need to rely on those big proprietary models. They can actually do it, for a computer, for a cluster for $100,000 can run a really amazing model. That means, wow, like a lot of startups don't have to depend on the bigger players, and that's where all the interesting innovation is going. A lot of the researchers and scientists are working in that space, so it's a very exciting time.
Will AI reduce the need for traditional encyclopedias?
I don't think so. And, the meaning of an encyclopedia is this very carefully vetted sum of all human knowledge. And I think that is the core and the basis for what the AIs need. They are all using Wikipedia. They read Wikipedia in order to understand the world and so forth. And we're very passionate about our model and producing high quality content.
Should AI generated content ever be allowed directly into Wikipedia articles?
Well, I think when we say the word ever, it's very hard to say. And of course, a lot of what's exciting about AI is the language capabilities. And so we're already seeing volunteers using machine translation, even between, say, French and English, right? Which is much higher quality than it used to be, which means that is in some ways machine generated content. But broadly, we are only looking at AI to support our editing community. Like, what are the tools that they could use to find problems in Wikipedia or to
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I think what India brings to it, and what this particular summit brings to it, is the approach of AI for everyone, inclusion, democratization, not necessarily hunting for the most exclusive of applications, but for applications that are there for as much as possible in our societies. And that's a contribution that I think India can make.
And when we talk about your arrival, it's hot on the heels of the historic FTA between India and the European Union. How can EU and India join hands as far as AI is concerned?
Welcome back. We return with the latest we're tracking from Kerala. The state's decision to extend bar operating hours across has triggered a major political and institutional storm, with the opposition and influential church bodies accusing the LDF government of pushing a booze bribe ahead of elections. Under the new orders, bars beer and wine parlours can operate from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight. Earlier, most bars functioned from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. while only those in tourist destinations were allowed longer hours. Now, Excise Minister M.B. Rajesh defended the move, saying this is not an extension but a uniformity measure. However, the decision has drawn sharp backlash. Opposition leader V.D. Satheesan called the move mysterious and said such a major policy shift should have been debated in the cabinet first. The Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church strongly also opposed the move. Its association secretary, Advocate Biju Omen, warned, does the government want the youth to sleep in bars? Also said that this will destroy an entire generation. So while the LDF insists the move is about fairness, about tourism, critics say the timing just ahead of elections raises serious questions. A lot of reactions have come in on the story already. Let's play some of those out.
There is no need for any controversy, I think, because if you look to other states, there may be these kind of practices, and many states much liberal timing is there, but Kerala it is something strict.
അതുകൊണ്ട് വളരെ ഗൗരവതരമായി ഒരു ചർച്ചയ്ക്ക് ശേഷമായിരുന്നു ഈ തീരുമാനം എടുക്കേണ്ടത്. ദൗർഭാഗ്യവശാൽ പെട്ടെന്നാണ് ഇലക്ഷന്റെ സായാഹ്നത്തിലാണ് ഈ തീരുമാനം എടുക്കുന്നത്. അതിന് ആക്ഷേപം ഉണ്ടാവും ഉറപ്പായിട്ടും. ഈ ഏകീകരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു പ്രശ്നം വന്നിരുന്നു നേരത്തെ. പക്ഷേ ടൂറിസം കേന്ദ്രങ്ങളുടെ എണ്ണം പെട്ടെന്ന് കൂട്ടിയത് തന്നെ ഈ ബാറുകൾക്ക് ഇത് കൊടുക്കാനുമാണെന്നുള്ള ആക്ഷേപവും വന്നിരുന്നു. അത് ഗൗരവമായി പരിശോധിക്കപ്പെടണം. ആ മന്ത്രിസഭ അത് പരിശോധിക്കണം. വിശദമായ ഒരു ചർച്ചയ്ക്ക് ശേഷം അല്ലല്ല അത് നമ്മൾ പരിശോധിക്കേണ്ട ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് പരിശോധിക്കപ്പെടേണ്ട കാര്യം തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം അത് ടൂറിസം കേന്ദ്രങ്ങളിലെ നൈറ്റ് ലൈഫ് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചാണോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വ്യാപകമായി ബാറുകൾക്ക് ഇത് കൊടുക്കുകയാണോ എന്നുള്ളതിന് ഒരു ക്ലാരിറ്റി വരുത്തണം. വളരെ വ്യക്തത വരുത്തണം. ആ വ്യക്തത വരുത്താതെ വിശദമായി ചർച്ച ചെയ്യാതെ തെരഞ്ഞെടുപ്പിന് മുമ്പ് പെട്ടെന്ന് പ്രഖ്യാപിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിൽ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ദുരൂഹത.
I do want to bring in Vivek Narayan into the conversation. Good morning, Vivek. How do you look at this? While we're seeing a lot of backlash being faced by the LDF, they're saying, the criticism essentially limited to the fact that all of this is being done in the run-up to elections to woo voters. How is the LDF defending this move, and what's the clarification that's coming from their end?
Well, tourism happens to be one of the biggest revenue earners for the state, and within and outside the country, a lot of tourists flock into the state. So obviously, tourism promotion has been a priority for the state all through. But the question being asked is about the timing. With just about 60 days to go for polls, why allow it now?
Okay, Vivek, apologies. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Need to shift our attention to a big breaking news update that's just come in. We're learning that Bill Gates is officially pulled out of the AI Summit keynote address. The Gates Foundation has issued a statement. It says, and I quote, after careful consideration and to maintain that focus remains on AI Summit, Mr. Gates will not deliver the keynote address. The clarification coming against the backdrop of recent online discussions referencing documents linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who remember died in 2019. And Bill Gates' name has appeared in portions of documents released by the US Justice Department, and now we're learning that he has officially pulled out of the AI Summit keynote address. So this is the Gates Foundation of India taking to social media. It's a detailed statement that's come in officially. It reads, and I quote here again, after careful consideration and to ensure the focus remains on the AI Summit's key priorities, Mr. Gates will not be delivering his keynote address. The Gates Foundation will be represented by Ankur Vora, President of Africa and India offices, who will speak later today at the summit. The Gates Foundation remains fully committed to our work in India to advance our shared health and development goals. So this is the clarification that's coming from Gates Foundation India. Despite Bill Gates being in the national capital, he is likely to, or rather it's a confirmation now with this official statement from the Gates Foundation of India that he will not be going ahead with his keynote address. Remember, he was officially stated to deliver the keynote address this morning itself at the AI India Summit. I do want to bring in Pallavi Ghosh into the conversation. Pallavi, we've seen so much of a back and forth whether Bill Gates will be appearing at the venue where the India AI Summit is being hosted or not. Finally, we do have a confirmation from the Gates Foundation India.
Yeah, so from talking purely from the point of view of the Gates Foundation, what apart from the statement, which has been issued by them officially. What they have also told us by way of sources is that we wanted the focus of the AI summit to be on the AI summit, and also the work which is done by the Gates Foundation, not just in India but across the world. But specifically talking about India, they felt that if Bill Gates was speaking over there, their attention would have been diverted from the good work. This is the work quote coming in from the Gates Foundation. The good work, the voluntary, the NGO kind of work in on multiple levels, that would have been completely overlooked by a needless controversy for the sake of the focus being on the AI summit and for the sake of the focus being on the exemplary work being done by the Gates Foundation. And this is the word which is coming in from representatives of the Gates Foundation, was essentially that we wanted that it is the focus remains on that, and that is why, Christine, Bill Gates personally has opted out. But to say that Gates Foundation is not going to be represented at the AI summit is wrong, because there is going to be Mr. Vora who is going to be speaking on behalf of the Gates Foundation. So while Bill Gates himself will not be delivering the keynote address, there is going to be representative. Christine, apart from what Payal is going to add on to us, the fact remains is that yes, there has been a lot of confusion. Just a few days back, we had quoted a statement coming in from the spokesperson of the Gates Foundation insisting that the keynote address will be delivered by him. But now it's clear that he's not going to be doing so.
Okay, thank you for that, Pallavi. I do want to bring in Siddharth Mishra into the conversation as well. He's tracking the story very closely from the summit venue. Siddharth, two clarifications coming in from the Gates Foundation India. One, this is being done keeping in mind the focus purely remains on the AI summit. Second, as Pallavi pointed out, only the contributions of the Gates Foundation is what needs to be highlighted. Having said that, tell us about Mr. Vora, whether or not he's going to be speaking at the same time slot which was taken out for Mr. Bill Gates. What next, really?
Well, that's right. So, adding on to what Pallavi said, that the confusion was going on from the very first day of AI Impact Summit. In fact, his name was mentioned on the official website of the summit on the very first day, or for the very first day as a speaker. But then the name was not reflecting later, and perhaps, in fact, we also reported that Bill Gates' name, which was present initially in the speakers list, is not reflecting anymore. But for today's session, today is the main day. He was expected to speak at around 11:50, 12 this afternoon. And in fact, yesterday also on the official website of AI Impact Summit, his name was very much getting reflected. And in fact, we also know this from our sources that he is very much present in the national capital. In fact, he met a few people also yesterday. But now we're getting to know, in fact, this statement is coming from Gates Foundation that instead of him, Mr. Vora is going to represent the Gates Foundation at AI Impact Summit. And this decision has been taken by Gates Foundation, Bill Gates himself, so that the focus
this was done, consulting
diverted
with the government of India. We're wanting to touch upon that, Siddhant. So stay on with us. Let's bring in Payal into the conversation and put out more breaking news that just come in. Government sources also say from day one, the focus should be on the summit and nothing else, is what top government sources have highlighted. Payal continues to stay on with us. Payal, were government officials kept on board? What kind of communication took place between the Gates Foundation and the government as per sources?
Well, of course, it did not take Bill Gates Foundation much to understand the sentiment that existed over here. You saw the kind of outrage that actually was existing on social media, and therefore it was pretty imminent. So obviously the government of India did not at any stage uninvite Mr. Gates, but the sentiments very, very palpable. And Mr. Gates continued to be in India for the last couple of days. Remember, he met Nara Lokesh and Chandrababu Naidu in Vijayawada a couple of days ago, and then he had a series of meetings, including meetings with a few big people, of the industry yesterday in the national capital. Is also what we are given to understand. But from day one, the government of India had maintained that their focus would have to be on the summit. And they wanted to have it be on the summit as well. They did not want any controversy to pan out. And though, it is the decision, like Siddhant is maintaining, of the foundation itself, understanding the palpable sentiments that exist right now on a serious issue like the files that have been out and the details that have been out. But Like I said, now the focus will completely be on the entire summit itself. And therefore, Mr. Gates is currently not going to be coming. Of course, his organization is going to be represented. Like, the statement that we've been able to put out, his organization will get the due representation by the India team as well. But Mr. Gates, per se, was expected to deliver a keynote address, is not going to be coming. So obviously, better senses prevailed, and the government can heave a huge sigh of relief, given the fact that the focus otherwise would have been on why Mr. Gates was
Yeah.
invited. The opposition obviously would be, ready with their entire ammunition against the government should Mr. Gates have come.
Okay, going across to Siddhant on that note once again. Siddhant, there was a little bit of a confusion in the last 2-3 days. So first, we did see a formal brief on how Mr. Bill Gates is very much going to be taking part in the AI Impact Summit. Then came a clarification, or there was a little bit of a buzz around, though he is in India, he may not, make an appearance at the ongoing summit. And then we found his name in the list of to-dos today, which is that he was slated to speak or deliver a keynote address. So there's been a lot of back and forth essentially the last few days.
Well, that's right. And also very important to understand, as Payal also pointed out, that this invitation was extended to Bill Gates ahead of much before the Epstein files were made public by United States Justice Department. And also the fact is that Bill Gates Foundation has contributed immensely in nurturing India's AI ecosystem. In fact, yesterday, I was at the exhibition center, and in fact, I met many AI startup founders, their CEOs, owners, and in fact, they all have remained in touch with Gates Foundation for funding, etc. So he definitely has a key role to play. Gates Foundation has a key role to play when it comes to helping the Indian startups to grow in the AI sector. But having said that, after Epstein files getting published, Bill Gates' name is very much at multiple places in those files released by the Justice Department. Perhaps has from the very first day, as Payal said, that the opposition parties in India were asking questions that whether Bill Gates is going to be the part of this summit, etc., etc. So, in fact, the other day when Minister Vaishnav addressed a press conference in New Delhi, and he was asked this question twice, that whether Bill Gates is going to be the part of this summit. So he said that we have extended invite to all. It is up to them. It's their personal choice whether they want to attend or they don't want to attend. So that was the reply from the minister. In fact, the ministry was also tight-lipped on Bill Gates' participation all this while.
Yeah.
So all we knew was that on the first day, earlier his name was present, then his name could not be found on the website. But as far as today's speaker list is concerned, the main day's speaker list,
which is going to be revised again now. Which is going to be revised again.
Yeah.
I do see Pallavi wanting to come in to make a point. Pallavi, anything you'd like to add to that? Not just political criticism. Social media users were also constantly referencing to his name, finding a mention in the Epstein file documents. And many of them, in fact, said that, or rather accused him of treating India like a lab for his products.
But to be very fair, it is not just the BJP or the NDA parties, but even in the Congress party. And I still remember when Sonia Gandhi had begun her Food for Work program, she did take a lot of funding from the Gates Foundation, and Bill Gates had interacted. So, Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation has worked closely with every government of the day. But to just pick up from the point which Payal has been making, and I'm speaking on behalf of the information coming out of Gates Foundation, but the government is not going to say things like, oh, we put pressure on the Gates Foundation. The man himself is very much in the country. He has been meeting with many of the political leaders and some from the government as well. But at the end of the day, what is the focus of the government? The AI Summit. The AI Summit has very, very good aspects to it. The entire focus of the AI Summit is to ensure that AI, which is the big fear factor for many people, also has its positive aspects to it. The PM has been speaking about it. Yesterday, the Golgotha University controversy many in the government felt was absolutely needless to focus only on that aspect. I think their sense was also within the Gates Foundation that if Bill Gates was to hold the keynote address, then the focus would have been more on the man and less on the work which the foundation has been doing. The statement very clearly mentions that. Gates Foundation sources are also telling us that this is exactly why he took that decision. While a few days back they did come out with a statement, the spokesperson had come out with a statement saying he's going to carry on as scheduled with the keynote address. But there was this realization and there was his own internal pressure. You want to come across as a foundation which has done some good work.
Yeah.
But if you address that keynote address, the focus would have been on the controversy and not the work done by the foundation, and hence the decision taken by them.
Okay, once again, a reiteration. Focus should only remain on the contributions made by the Gates Foundation and obviously the agenda of the AI summit. That should not see any sort of dilution, is why perhaps this decision has been announced by the Gates Foundation India. Quickly going over to Payal on that note. Payal, which also is an important reminder that he's pretty much in the national capital still. He's met a few other politicians in Andhra Pradesh, for instance. Any plans in the national capital of any political interactions? Do we know more?
Well, let me just clarify and tell our viewers he's not a persona non grata. He's come on a valid visa. He's had a series of meetings. Unfortunately, the Naidu family got badly trolled for actually extending a red carpet to him. Naturally, at a very sensitive time, it was seen in very bad light as well. But not that Mr. Gates has not had his series of meetings, except for the fact that photographs and photographic evidence has not been out as well. I'm given to understand that he had lined up a series of meetings and he's having those series of meetings. He's had those series of meetings even yesterday in the national capital is what I understand. But the fact of the matter remains, like I said, the government of India has not uninvited him. And like Siddhant was maintaining that his name was there, but the name has not been drawn up at the last minute. Remember, the preparations for the AI summit have been going on for a very, very long time. The list would have been drawn up at a very long time, and the government of India has not uninvited him because, obviously that would have been the onus that the foundation really had. And there was a lot of confusion given the fact the foundation put out a statement a couple of days ago saying that he's going to be very much attending and he's going to be delivering his keynote address as well. But I think better senses really prevail, and eventually at least the focus can be on the summit. We saw the Galgotia controversy pan out yesterday. That has been done away with now. And hopefully today, when the big summit, the big day will happen, we will hear from the Prime Minister in terms of what India's vision as far as the Global South contribution is concerned. And hopefully the focus will remain on that so everybody can heave a sigh of relief.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to move out of this conversation in the next few minutes too. But we'll revisit this story, break down all the important details in just a few seconds. Thank you to all of you. Stay on with us. We're taking a very quick break. We'll be right back with more details on the same in just a few seconds.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I think what India brings to it, and what this particular summit brings to it, is the approach of AI for everyone, inclusion, democratization, not necessarily hunting for the most exclusive of applications, but for applications that are there for as much as possible.